So we're installing the floor joist system today, and it just got dropped off this morning. And what happened?
Well, to start off with, the guy asked me if I could pull it off with my truck or hook it to my dump trailer because he doesn't have the correct trailer.
To roll them off?
Yeah, but he wants to roll them off, so I say you could hook to my front steps, you know, like...
If the steps come off,
yeah,
we're gonna be replacing them anyways, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and you know what, the guy, he's not a young man, seems like he's done it a couple of times, so I say, oh yeah, let's go. So he hooks up, he puts her in drive, spins, so he tries again.
And half the trusses break. Stop! No.
Yeah.
Right in front of our eyes.
But yeah, and there was one truss that came very obviously damaged as well, so sent that back for repair.
Like almost half of the trusses went back?
Yeah.
Pretty close to a third?
And they shorted us on some LVL too.
So they're gonna have to make a trip anyways, but yeah.
Not a good way to start your Monday.
Alrighty, well, here's us installing the LVLs and the trusses.
Now we are starting to install the floor joist system. First, we put down a vapor barrier on the back, that is the plastic sheet on the wall, and then we install the ledger board. The ledger board is made of LVL, which is laminated veneer lumber.
Vapor barrier is required where we live in Canada. It is made of 6mm poly plastic and it needs to be continuous. That's why we're putting it behind the ledger. That way it's a lot easier to have your house sealed.
While I am putting up the poly on the wall, Garrett is taking down a few of the floor joists that are original to the house. During this process, you can't take down all of the floor joists at once, or else the house could tumble side to side as it does keep the integrity of the building. So this was a process that we had to do in stages to make sure that we still kept the house in working order.
As you can see, the studs are running from the floor all the way to the ceiling 18 feet. This is called balloon frame style. And that's why we're doing a ledger board, because there is no support in the middle. So we're just fastening right to the studs using structural screws.
You're good now? Yeah. Hey. Adios, mi amigo. Gotta go make some money so we can keep renovating our house.
Had a job once.
Now this is it. Bye.
Having balloon framed walls, it allowed us to pick the ceiling height. We picked 9 feet on the dot to the bottom. So, and then we have 8'6" on the second story. Here you could see me installing the structural screws. These are 5-inch GRKs, also known as GURKs. Once the ledger boards are up, I can install the trusses. The trusses weigh about 75 to 100 pounds each. They're not too heavy, but as a solo carpenter, I can really only be in one place. So I screwed a board to the top side of each one and then was able to slide it in. And that way it's perfectly flush with the top, so I can fasten it off with my air nailer and later come around and put hangers on.
For this project, we decided to invest in a baker's scaffold. This scaffold came in very handy when we were doing the floor joist system, as we were able to reach the floor joist pretty easily and we're able to move it around very quickly with the wheels on the bottom.
Here you can see me insulating in between the wall cavity. I'm insulating now because I'm going to be putting a lot of nails in afterwards. That'll make it a lot harder. So whenever you have the chance, it's always better to insulate earlier to do a better job than later when there's more obstructions.
As you can see, currently we do not have any lights in the house, so there is a string light that's kind of in Garrett's way here. This is kind of our only solution for now for lighting while we're working. So sometimes we do have to move it around a little bit to get it in the place that we need it, but it does do the trick and it does light up the entire house.
Here you can see me installing the hangers. These hangers are specialized and they come from the truss manufacturer specifically for this system. Everything is engineered in a shop and sent over afterwards.
Now that we've completed the installation of the first third of the floor joist, we can take down more of the floor joist in the back of the house, as the front of the house has a lot more structural integrity at the moment. Then we slowly install more of the floor joist and keep the integrity all the way throughout. Garrett has multiple size ladders to help him take down the original floor joist as a solo carpenter while I am at work. As you can see, there's a bit of a lighting switch. It did take us several days to do this disassemble as well as install of these floor joists. So this is day 2. We are hoping to salvage as many of these floor joists as possible and use the wood to build some different types of furniture for our house.
Here you can see me removing the joist from the back half of the house. This is the addition, so this is actually framed traditionally, where it's a 9-foot wall and then joists across and then wall on top again. You can see I built some temporary supports because this is where it could really rack from one side to another. So I built a support so it stays solid while I'm installing the ledger boards and installing the joists. Working as a solo carpenter, you always need to build another extra hand. Here you can see me installing an 18-foot LVL by myself. This is about 200 to 300 pounds. It's solid engineered lumber. I need to build some jigs sometimes to help me out. I like to use the air nailer to tack it in place just because it's a lot quicker and easier than screwing. And then after I come back and I put 2 GRK's structural screws in every stud. Installing this ledger board was actually quite a bit of work because I had to shim it out so it's the same level. Where they had tied the addition into the house, it was about 1 inch off and it wasn't completely square, so I needed to shim it to make it completely square so all the trusses lined up perfectly.
At this point in the renovation, we were in awe of how tall the ceilings felt without the floor joist system. At one point, we even discussed potentially just keeping it wide open, having that tall of ceilings. But that's not very realistic, as this house is only 1,500 square feet, and we need both levels or else we'd have nowhere to sleep. And as you can see from the window in the second story there, that we are nearing the end of day 2.
The way the truss system works is the staircase is in the very middle, so there's special trusses on each end of where the stairs are going to be, and here you could see me installing special leg bolts through so that it works as one continuous truss to support an LVL that will be going from one truss to another.
And here is the start of day 3. As you can see, we've now installed the first third of the house and the last third of the house, and now we're working on the middle piece. We had to install it this way as the stairwell is going up on the side through the middle of the house. So the ledger board that Garrett is installing currently at the moment in this video has to connect to both of the floor joists on each side.
Installing these LVLs were a little bit more challenging as I was working right over the stairwell and everything was pretty tight, so I just kind of had to ease it in and fasten it off.
Some tasks are definitely harder than others. This clip is actually in 10 times the speed, and that just goes to show how long it took to get these ledger boards in place. Now Garrett is moving on to the install of the final trusses. This is the last third of the floor joist system. As you can see, there is going to be a space on the right hand side here between the ledger board and the wall. That is where a stairwell is going to go up to the second story. Here you can see Garrett getting a little cocky, putting 3 sets of trusses on the baker's scaffold before the install. Somehow he made it work, but let me tell you, sometimes this guy's a little crazy.
This is everyone's favorite part of the project when you start to really see the vision. I worked really hard on this and now it's paying off.
This is where the dedication pays off. Garrett spent countless hours at the house leading up to this point, doing a lot of things that honestly aren't that exciting enough to make a video about. But This is the video where it really all comes together, and Garrett was working out in the cold for months on end when it was up to minus 40 degrees Celsius, which is actually quite wild. In a house like this that's not being heated, it is basically like a big cold box, and it gets colder and colder every day. Here is the stage again where Garrett is just tacking the floor joist in place before putting the joist hangers on. This clip makes me realize how much sun we are going to have inside of our house. The current window that you see in the back there is one of the original windows. It is smaller than the one that's going to be installed in that place. And basically the whole back wall behind where Garrett is installing the floor joist is going to be a huge window. So we are going to have no lack of sunshine throughout the day.
Here you can see me installing some 2x4s to the top of the trusses, that way I can lift it up and hook onto the top of the ledger board. This is actually how far I got for a while. There's 2 more trusses on the ground, but those 2, even after we requested them to be fixed, they came back in the exact same condition. So I had to get them to make 2 brand new trusses for us.
To be 100% honest, it really wasn't a walk in the park using this truss company. We had ordered through our local lumber yard, and this was one of their suppliers that they use quite frequently, and they've had no issues with in the past. That being said, I don't know if we would ever use this supplier again, but yeah.
When installing subfloor, you always want to make sure that you're starting off really straight. So we chalked a line prior to this, and now I'm screwing it down to tack it in place. And then my dad, Planter Guy, is coming along with the automatic collated screw gun, which allows you to be standing up and screwing, and it automatically feeds screws in. You always want to make sure to stagger your sheets so it's half-half, kind of a brick pattern. That way it's all tongue and groove and it works as one uniform monolithic slab. You always want to make sure to use subfloor glue before putting down your sheets. That way there's guaranteed no squeaks. Unfortunately, we were not able to complete the subfloor at this point, as we were still missing those 2 trusses, so this is as far as we get on video.
And here's the final look from the main floor. As you can see at this point, once we took this video, all of the trusses were installed and subfloor on the second level, as well as we had now installed our stairs. So that way we did not need to climb ladders to get up to the second story anymore. She is really starting to look like a house. I don't know if you guys can see the vision, but I can. Anyways, this is the full video for today. If you guys have any questions, concerns, or comments, please put them in the comments below. Please like and share if you do enjoy our content. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flippity flip.